Hello everyone, this is RaySpace here with another far future ship design in Kerbal Space Program 1.12 with Realism Overhaul and Real Solar System. In the previous video I tested out an Antimatter-initiated Fusion engine ship design, and this time we have a nuclear saltwater rocket engine. Now, the nuclear saltwater rocket engine is a little bit complicated because there are many different flavors of it, apparently. So last time, let me just close this for a sec. We were using this Dirac antimatter-initiated microfusion engine, and my goal is to try to figure out which engine, what the least necessary technology is to get around the solar system, A, within a year, or B, within 80 days. So obviously we'll need more advanced technology for the 80 days. And we saw in the previous video that maybe the antimatter-initiated microfusion engine has enough specific impulse to handle it in the 1 year, but it took too long to get out to Pluto to manage it in 80 days, assuming we include Pluto. But Neptune is about the same distance, so it would take about the same length of time, and we were looking at about 100 days to get out to Neptune, so that wouldn't be good enough. And the goal is to go from one planet to another, stopping at each planet, so we have to capture and then go on. But we are assuming that we can refuel. So there is that, and that is a trick, and maybe then we would be able to get out to Neptune quicker, because if we refuel, that means that we are going faster to each intermediate planet before getting to Neptune, because we're expending all of the delta V. If you're wondering, well, why is it dependent on the specific impulse like that? I mean, can't you just pack more fuel? Not optimally, right? We're designing an optimal ship, and an optimal ship means that the delta V that you get from the stage, and we're doing a reusable ship, so we're not dumping stages, so the amount of delta V you get from the stage is equal to the exhaust velocity, is the optimal amount. And so if we have an exhaust velocity of, well, and let's see, in this case 120,000, so it's a little bit more than the antimatter-initiated microfusion engine, then we're looking for the exhaust velocity equivalent in delta V, and the way you get the exhaust velocity is take the specific impulse, multiply by 9.81, or let's just round off to 10, and so we get 1.2 million, and that's about what I've packed. I've packed a little bit closer to the 9.81. So yeah, we've got an optimal ship here in this case. If we added more units of fuel, we could get more delta V, but we'd be getting diminishing returns at that point, severely diminishing returns. So we might as well just go with this and then intend to refuel. Now, the whole nuclear saltwater rocket engine thing is a complicated one, like I said, and whoops, let's spell that right. And that's because, actually, let me just say salt. That'll narrow it down quickly. There are weaker ones and stronger ones. Like, there's this Heinlein one. It is 6,728. This one's from KSP Interstellar, sort of the same type. That gets 9,000. But whether it's in these packs for Kerbal Space Program or just looking up nuclear saltwater rocket engines on the web, I find that there are these variants, and then there are also the variants with 6 digits of ISP. So this Niven one, or this Damascus one, that actually has antimatter going in. I don't know if antimatter is actually required for this version, and I don't know why we get some nuclear saltwater rocket engines that get 4 digits of ISP and some that get 6 digits. Maybe it's supposed to have antimatter. It's not clear to me from my web searches about this information exactly what the trick is to get the 6 digits of ISP, but it's definitely a thing that this type of engine can get either amount, in theory, of course. But the trick with it is that it's really hard to make this kind of engine. Probably much harder than actually making the fusion one, because it's a continuously detonating, barely contained nuclear explosion. Somebody on the previous video had suggested just having fusion explosions in the back and basically using an Orion drive. That's easier from the fusion perspective. It's harder from the ship design perspective because the ship has to deal with that, the release of that energy. And it really isn't capturing a whole lot of that energy. That's why when it comes to fusion, you'll see higher ISPs sometimes with the more contained things using a reactor than using the nuclear bomb in the back version, or in this case, the thermal nuclear bomb in the back version, because you can't really capture all the energy being released. And so ISP is all about capturing the energy from your fuel. And you're not capturing all that much in that case. So that is one thing that's going on. Here we are trying to capture the energy with a barely contained nuclear explosion as well, but it's a very peculiar way of doing it that is very complicated. And this is fission, not fusion. So it's easier in that it's fission, but really, as far as exploding fusion is concerned, that part isn't very complicated either. We've definitely exploded things using fusion. Or a combination between fission and fusion, but trying to get this to work in such a way that you're capturing the energy in the right way without hurting your ship is the tricky part. And so the question is, when do we get these things? When would we get that engine? When would we get that engine? When would we be able to design a ship that has a pusher plate that can use fusion bombs like the Orion drive used fission, and exactly what the efficiency is, that's a question. But the comment suggested that the fusion version of the Orion drive could get 75,000. Well, we're getting more than that, and we're still a little bit hard-pressed for getting to the various locations in time. So we're looking at the 6-digit stuff first, but we can work backwards. I currently do not have a fusion Orion drive engine, so yeah. Anyway, so we have this one, and we are under 3,000 tons. That's a goal here. One thing you'll notice is the really high dry mass, 1,100 tons, to contain the nuclear salt water primarily. And one thing I've noticed, in the previous video I talked about how TweakScale was not working with the radiators. And that continues to be a problem after I tried many ways of trying to solve this. I tried removing KSP recall because on the forums there was a suggestion that maybe that's a problem. I tried various other things to fix it. No luck. I have a different install where I also have Far Future. That install has different mods. It has the same problem with TweakScale. TweakScale requires KSP recall, so I don't know. But basically, once again, TweakScaling, it makes no difference to how much heat is removed, regardless of how many panels we do it with or what we scale them to. It's still 600 kilowatts no matter how I scale this, and that's been in multiple different installs with different sets of mods. Anyway, this is the ship. So what's the benefit of this? Well, the benefit is that the nuclear saltwater rocket engine gets a lot more thrust, and that was our big problem last time, right? Now it can get to places in 6 days using all of its delta V. So that's a breeze, and that's a lot better than the 45 kilonewtons that you get from each engine with the antimatter one. Let's just type in Far Future. Each of the antimatter engines was 10 tons and got 45 kilonewtons. This one is 28 tons, gets 3,800. So that's a huge benefit. It does generate a lot of heat, and so we do have all the radiators, including these outer pods, as you can see. And that's how we're getting around that. I will come up with other more interesting ship designs later. And perhaps KSP Interstellar engines will give me more flexibility. Like the Damascus one that gets 500,000 seconds of ISP seems like it might be interesting too. Anyway, but let's put this to work. Alright, so we are in orbit again, and we are going to see if this can do wonderful things for us. I haven't exactly solved the time warp problem that I had in the previous video, where it suddenly decided to quit on me, leaving this one stranded, for instance, unable to do time warp while using thrust. Let's try Saturn again. Now, this doesn't have more delta V than the previous one because the ISP is about the same. Here, 40 days seems possible. Maybe we should try 2 planets. I mean, Jupiter and Saturn are basically in line with each other. It would be better to do Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, just so that we get on the correct side of the sun, and we don't have that problem. So, Venus, yeah, let's try a triple deal, but I can't refuel it. So we'll just see what it can do without the refueling. We won't go full tilt to Venus then. But we do have to capture each time. 21 days. That seems like a while. Maybe I won't slow down at Venus. Well, and again, I mean, turning our orbit that way is going to take a lot anyway. That's basically perpendicular. So maybe slowing down isn't going to make that big a difference. Let's see. Let's see how quickly we can go through. Seems very mild considering what it's supposed to be doing. Continuous nuclear reaction. Okay, let's go. Oh, it's got too much thrust. Well, so for Pekka's mod for warp thrust, the way we solve that is actually to shut down the engine and say instead using all engines. And then when we throttle up, but it's not really doing anything. Well, what thrust level would it be happy with? Let's say 64%. Can it do that? Apparently it can do 64%. Well, that's okay. Just can't do 100%. Will we see an encounter? Oh, there is one. Oh, up. Roll down. Okay, well, we'll correct that as part of the slowdown bit. So our encounter is in 18 days and 1 hour. We're expecting it to take about a day to slow down. Okay, well, that'll be good enough for now. It says 1 day, 4 hours to do this burn. So maybe we don't need so much time. Okay, we'll try to do that if it'll let us. And so we're coasting for 17 days, which is not great, but since we have a 8-day burn time and we want to get out to the outer planets as well, we're just sort of doing a dogleg at Venus. Really, probably I shouldn't capture. We should take the gravitational slingshot and try and turn it more. But for now, probably I should have started earlier. We'll see. If it turns out that I should have started earlier, we'll just go right head on to the next thing. To Mars. Okay, will it work in time warp? Okay, it is. Good. Alright, we're in business. Uh-oh, but it's deviating too much. I was too hasty. Okay now? Alright, now it's stable. That's the persistent rotation implementation of Realism Overhaul, actually. It's not a separate persistent rotation plugin. But yeah, I think I'm a little bit late. Try to do this. We'll see. It's interesting it throttles down automatically to the throttle limit setting. Yeah, my estimate for when to start this was bad. Okay, well, we mainly wanted to get to Venus just so that we'd be on the right side of the sun. Let's try to get to Mars with this. Though, effectively, we're going to be trying to get rid of most of our velocity or all of our velocity like this. Well, of all the ridiculous maneuvers I'm having to do, this one's pretty darn ridiculous. Doing a left turn, 90-degree left turn around the solar system. And because of the way things sort of change. Basically, the radial component is acting as if it's my inclination or normal component. And the normal component is acting more like the radial. Well, for now, I'll take that. We'll probably have to fix it. So it's 21 days out to Venus, and now we're trying to take about the same amount of time to Mars. That doesn't bode well for the rest of it, does it? Maybe we should have, like, sub-ships popping off with their own engines and stages. I mean, we don't want to have multiple stages like this, but the deceleration stage could be something else, right? So the capture stage around each of these worlds could be a different vessel. But again, we're sort of hampered because I'm trying to preserve the delta V and instead of refueling at each location. So normally the plan is to refuel at each location. Now we're doing something interesting around Venus here. We're going like that. We're not gonna hit Venus, but still, it's a left turn. Not really what you want to see in space. Or maybe you do. I think it's quite exciting to be able to do a left turn like that. Okay, here we go. Well, it's using delta V. But surprisingly slowly, actually. That's a 2-day burn time. Getting a sense of how much it is changing us. Okay, well it is going that way. Nope, Jupiter encounter. If only. Okay, we should correct this now. But left turn accomplished. This engine seems happier than the Antimatter-initiated Fusion engine as far as the time warping is concerned. Okay, well that's a really good periapsis. 42,000 in this direction. 17. We have a burn time of 10 hours, node in 17 hours. We'll time warp a little bit. Okay, throttle up and go. Oh. Oh. Well, I guess we have lost some mass, so maybe I should thrust limit this more. Let's see if that helps. Okay, 50% is okay for now. That burn time, I guess, has adjusted for our throttle down, yeah. Yes, we are. But it'll be a bit off. Okay. So maybe Mars in 40 to 41 days, but we're gonna need to slow down, and we didn't do a very good job of that with Venus, so I'll be more conservative this time. So we'll probably be talking about 42 days-ish, going from Earth to Venus to Mars, with a left turn. Okay, let's go for this. 1 day, 20-hour burn time. Then we will reassess for Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, and it is working. Maybe it's something to do with the Antimatter-initiated Fusion drive, I don't know. That I was having trouble with last time. Maybe. That's a whole other set of problems. You know, there's which engine to choose from a technical perspective, and then which engine to choose from a KSP will work with it better perspective. Okay, now we're getting further away. Alright. The rest should just be a correction when we get in and then capture. Okay, well, we don't really want to get too close. We know that's gonna cause problems. Alright, so 12,000 more. How did we develop a roll? I think I've got some reaction wheels to stop that. Oh, we need to tune the engine down again. So yeah, you can have a whole lot of thrust with something like Orion drive, but if if it doesn't do its burns in 1 day, you're gonna have a problem. If it doesn't do its burns in like 1 hour, you're gonna have a problem because all that thrust you can't use with the time warp thing. You would have to actually thrust limit it. So then you'd be carrying a lot of extra mass for no reason. Well, there's Venus. We were just there. 1 hour, 31 minute capture burn. Well, we're wildly off from the maneuver node, but that's just bringing our periapsis up, which is probably safer anyway. We do have a capture. And we should probably stop it there before things get too suborbital. Okay, so 525,000. Well, let's say we used 525,000 right now to get to Jupiter. How would that work out for us? How fast could we go? Let's just say we use all of it. Well, even with just 210,000, we can get there in 50 days. 268,000 for 40 days. And that's to stop as well. Now, again, we've got a good opportunity here because Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are on the same side of the Sun, so that makes everything easier. Still, we'd be passing, the 80-day mark, but so we can't go around the solar system in 80 days, but 1 year is not too bad either, and we should be able to manage even better than 1 year. Let's see. So we're looking for going out at 146,000, and then we can go on to Saturn after capturing around Jupiter. Of course, we made a very sloppy, random sort of capture here, and if we were really trying to do something important, it wouldn't be like this. On the other hand, we really want to actually refuel here, and I'm not even doing the refueling part. Oh great, we've got a Saturn encounter. No. Well, there's a Jupiter encounter. Good thing Jupiter and Saturn will pretty much suck everything in. Oh, it's a pretty good periapsis for Jupiter. Seems alright to me. It's a little bit faster than I want, though. We weren't planning on that much. It'll take us longer to get to Saturn like that. Alright, well, it's 43 days, but that looks good to me right now. And 1 day, 22-hour burn time. And that's because we've had to throttle down. Otherwise, it wouldn't take that long. We start with an 8-day burn time and double this amount of delta V. Well, let's just start pointed in the right direction and we'll deal with the corrections later. Okay, pointing to the node. Just a quick stay at Mars. That's the one thing about this whole endeavor story-wise. How long is the intrepid adventurer going to stay in each location, barring the travel times? What hijinks will ensue? After all, in around the world in 80 days, part of the time that the trip took was getting into trouble. Okay, here we go. Time warp is working. It's a whole big change to our orbit. I think I better replot at this point, otherwise it's gonna be probably messed up. Okay, well that's some kind of encounter. 44 more days. So right now we're talking about 89 to 90 days total. And we're doing 120 1,000 meters per second or 120 kilometers per second out here for another 1 day, 12 hours. Okay, but pointed in the same direction. So let's go. All is well still. Oh, I don't know what that's doing. Our orbit just... okay, it was just not tracking right, that's all. Oh, it looked like it completely flipped. It's not thrilled with this kind of thing, let's face it. Kerbal was never meant to do this. Oh, we're going away from it. Okay. Well, any further corrections we'll do in Jupiter SOI. We'll have plenty of time in the SOI to do corrections, because Jupiter's big. No problems. Even though we're going through it really fast. What is it? Well, I guess I'm underestimating. It looks like from encounter to escape, it's 7 days, but still, we only have 3 days worth of total burn time. But that's full throttle, we're not full throttle. So, anyway, we're not using all of it. So it'll be fine. Everything we've been doing has been about, 140,000 meters per second is what I've been going for. We know if Jupiter doesn't perturb us, we're not slow enough. Well, that's a bit of a curve. It should be fine. Okay, maybe it's a little bit more than I thought. 25,000 there. Well, it'll be fine. So 93,000 first, and then 25,000 further in. Oh, Saturn's right there. Jupiter and its moons are right here. Uh-oh. Too much thrust. Okay, so this is the main slowdown burn around Jupiter. And we'll say capturing like that, taking 8 hours and 44 minutes to do 31,000 meters per second. 90 days in now. In principle, if we had this kind of thrust with the Antimatter-initiated Fusion drive, we would have been able to do the same thing because its ISP is about the same. And actually, I think we had more delta V with it, but it just took a lot of time to use it. That could be solved with more radiator and more engines. I'm not entirely sure it ought to be that weak, considering our fuel is the deuterium and helium-3. It's much better to capture closer, but I don't want to end up in a very close orbit, so... how are we not capturing already? Come on. Okay, we captured. That's fine, 2-day orbit. Let's see about Saturn. We have 238. We're definitely assuming that we're refueling at Saturn in order to get back anywhere else. We will have gone from Venus to Mars. We passed by Venus, we didn't capture. Captured around Mars, captured around Jupiter, and then trying to go and capture around Saturn. So, from Jupiter to Saturn right now. I mean, in theory we could do this, but I'm not entirely sure that's going to work out for us. So, we'll try 60 days. So, then it'll be 150 days total. Not bad. Actually, our apoapsis is for once in a good position. Okay, probably not a good idea to fine-tune this to the 1 second mark. Alright, about 90,000, and we're heading out there, getting there in 60 days. That was the idea. We're sure not doing this instantaneously though. 1 day, 2 hour burn. Okay, turning towards Saturn, our final destination. The terminal, if you will. Right, off we go. Alright, so as we're time warping out here, I noticed a shady dot. That looks like, one of the map planets there. But I think that's in fact Ganymede. because we're passing pretty close to Ganymede, though not actually encountering it, but we're actually passing high. Is that I think it's Ganymede based on the way it's streaking by, so we don't have a whole lot of light around here. Well, yeah, that's Ganymede over there. Relatively close encounter considering we're not actually going into its SOI. Okay, we will need a further correction to get closer. But we have an encounter, 50 days it is now. Let's just get out of Jupiter SOI so that maneuver is clearer. No, that'll certainly be too close, so go with that for now. 7 days till that node. Alright, the correction is good. Let us proceed. Well, that's our orbit. What's that line then? Yeah, what's that yellow line? I don't even know. Why? Oh, I guess that's a second encounter, maybe? We're re-encountering Saturn? That seems impossible, because I think we're on escape, but okay. Alright, well, I'm not particularly picky about how I capture here, I guess. I'll just take this. We're gonna demonstrate capture, but I should be in line with the other with the moons. I want to get this over with. Let's just do this. This was just a test of what it could do, especially without refueling. And we're talking about... Ooh, come on, watch out for time warp. Okay, we're talking about 150 days going to and capturing around Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. As long as they're in this particular order. As long as they're not in weird locations with respect to each other. On the same side of the sun. We'll say mainly on the same side of the sun is the important bit. And there's Saturn and its moons. Alright, here we come. A little bit further away than we probably ought to be. And again, taking longer, because I think it's actually throttling down along the way. Or some math has failed me, but what can I say? So we do go past. Yeah, I don't think I've got enough because we didn't do it at the right time. But part of the reason we're not getting it at the right time is the actual thrust that I'm allowed to have. I think it's, well, now it's doing it without any delta V left. Oh, there is still some nuclear salt water even though it's not reading delta V. Does Pekka's mod not obey the residuals? Pekka's mod might not think about residuals, I think is what's going on here. So we got to capture even though we had no delta V there. Or it recalculated residuals along the way. Nope. Well, let me just see. So now I can't ignite, right? Okay, I'm getting no thrust, no propellants, but if I time warp, nothing happens, right? Okay, nothing happened. Okay, nothing too suspicious has gone on. I think it was in time warp temporarily not obeying the residuals thing that realism overhaul has, and therefore we were able to capture into a very, very, very long orbit though. 1 year, 289 days, 320 days to apoapsis, so that wouldn't be ideal. But anyway, 151 days going from Mars to Jupiter to Saturn and capturing around each. Some refinement could be done, but mainly I would be trying to refuel this at each place anyway, and with that we could certainly go faster. So now I have to set up or stage some refueling depots, but those will have to be pretty big. There's a lot of fuel. It's a lot of fuel. So anyway, we're around Saturn, but I think we're actually pretty far out from Saturn, so I can't really see it well. Probably, well, it's there somewhere. All right, that was the ship. That is the nuclear saltwater vessel, Niven style. So this is with the 120,000 seconds of ISP. And with that, I'll say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. And I'll see you next time.